On September 16th, 1994, something happened at a small school in Zimbabwe that mainstream science still cannot explain. More than 60 children between the ages of 6 and 12 claimed they watched a silver disc-shaped object land in a field beside their school. They said strange beings stepped out of it, and in the days that followed, nearly every single child told the same story, independently, in stunning detail, without ever changing it. Decades later, researchers still call it one of the most credible mass UFO sightings ever recorded. This is the story of the Ariel School Incident. Ariel School was located just outside Ruwa, a quiet town not far from Harare. On the morning of September 16th, during morning recess, children were playing outside as usual. Teachers were nearby. Nothing suggested this would be a day anyone would remember for the rest of their lives. Then, several children noticed lights in the sky above a field bordering the schoolyard. Some ran to get a closer look. Others called their classmates over. Within minutes, dozens of children were watching an object none of them could explain, hovering silently above the trees. The children described a large, silver, saucer-shaped craft that landed or hovered just above the ground in the bush near the school. Around it, they said, stood small beings, roughly a meter tall, dressed in tight black suits, with large heads and enormous black eyes. The children were terrified. Some screamed, some cried. Others simply froze in place, staring. According to their accounts, one of the beings looked directly into their minds. No sound, no spoken words, just an overwhelming feeling that something was communicating with them, silently, and it did not feel friendly. When the children ran back inside, panicked and shaken, they tried to tell their teachers what happened, but most of the adults hadn't seen a thing. From inside the building, there was nothing unusual to see. The field was simply empty. The teachers assumed the children were imagining things, playing games, or repeating a story from television. Nobody believed them, but the children wouldn't stop talking about it. Not that day, not the next, and their descriptions never changed. Word of the incident eventually reached researchers overseas. Among them was John Mack, a Harvard psychiatrist who had spent years studying reports of close encounters. Mack traveled to Zimbabwe himself, along with a documentary crew, to interview the children directly. What he found stunned him. Speaking to the children individually, away from each other, he asked them to draw what they had seen. Separately, without collaborating, dozens of children drew nearly identical images: a silver disc, small dark figures, the same enormous eyes. On camera, the children spoke calmly, but with visible fear behind their eyes. One boy said the being that looked at him made him feel there was something deeply wrong about the world, some kind of warning about the future, about damaging the planet. Other children described similar impressions, a message about the environment, delivered not in words, but as pictures placed directly into their minds. Mack, a Harvard-trained psychiatrist with decades of clinical experience, later stated he found no evidence the children were lying, coached, or suffering from any shared delusion. That conclusion, from someone with his credentials, only deepened the mystery. Skeptics offered other explanations. Some suggested the children witnessed a meteor or unusual atmospheric phenomenon and simply filled in the details afterward, influenced by rumors spreading through the school. Others pointed to the power of childhood imagination combined with cultural storytelling. But critics of these theories note something unusual: the sheer number of witnesses. More than 60 children of different ages and backgrounds gave remarkably consistent testimony, and many stood firmly by their story well into adulthood, decades after the event, with nothing to gain from continuing to tell it. Some of those children grew up and gave interviews years later as adults. Their stories hadn't changed. No embellishments, no contradictions, just the same quiet certainty. They had seen something that day that they still could not explain, and that had left a permanent mark on how they saw the world. For many of them, it wasn't just a memory. It was the moment childhood ended and something unanswerable began. To this day, the Ariel School Incident remains one of the largest recorded instances of a UFO sighting witnessed simultaneously by dozens of independent observers. No official investigation ever offered a conclusive natural explanation. No debris was found. No radar data confirmed or denied it. Only the consistent, unwavering testimony of children who grew into adults, still telling the exact same story. Somewhere in Zimbabwe, in a quiet field outside a small school, something happened that science still cannot fully explain. And more than 60 people, who were only children at the time, still believe every word of what they saw.